Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry channel, and I'm showing the wrong thing. Okay.
You're ruining it already, Harry.
Off to a fantastic glitch-filled start. Let's try that again. Good evening, everybody. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry channel. This is the Sore Throat edition. Hopefully I won't lose my voice. And with me tonight are Minions Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
DrFunctional.
Hello.
Mr. Adam.
Salve.
And SkepTock.
Bonsoir, mes amis.
And I know many of us have had quite the day, so I'm going to, I'm not going to bug you for the how was your day thing unless you want to raise your hands. Anybody want to volunteer? Like Adam, would you like to volunteer? How was your day?
Like Adam. Hold on. Let me tell you.
Why
it's
you?
a preposterous thing to go about because all of a sudden everybody has something that they all of a sudden have something they have to say. So I think in terms of running a show, and if you are trying to have a linear stream, fuck what people are doing, what they're doing, you know.
Yeah.
I love y'all to be God with you, but it's Saturday, right?
Well, I mean, on the one hand, it's linear in the sense that there's literally a spreadsheet that plans out the show. On the other hand, we don't pay attention to the spreadsheet a lot of the time, so it's actually non-linear. So, I don't know. It's sort of simultaneously one or the other.
Wibbly wobbly YouTubey stuff.
Did you have anything, Serenity?
No, I'm just laughing at the insanity.
I know. It's controlled chaos. That's the important
Drug-fueled insanity. I love it.
Go
like,
functional.
I did nothing today.
Well, if you're laughing, target acquired.
Exactly.
There you go.
Well,
go ahead, functional.
God bless.
You've got the floor.
I demanded Harry give me the first spot for tonight because I have some breaking news. As of today, in 1978, an astrophysicist and his friend postulated that Earth's rotation was due to fat-bottom girls. After more than 45 years without being disproven, refuted, or really even seriously questioned, this now must be considered scientific fact.
It's fact. Fat-bottom girls.
They make the rock and roll go round.
Is it FAT or PF?
No, FAT. FAT. We're English. We're not savages.
It's not fat.
Whoa. Hold on.
Fat.
I think this is something we can agree
That was my
upon.
joke.
Well, I'm sorry.
The song came out in 1978, this time of year. So
Can it remind me again,
Brian May actually wrote that song.
Brian May and Freddie Mercury, yeah.
No, he wrote that song was written by Brian May. Period. Dot.
Yeah. But Freddie did the instrumentals, like he put it together. I mean, it was a collaborative effort between the two of them. May wrote like the lyrics himself. Yes.
The whole song was written by Brian May. One of the things that was going on between Brian May was he was trying to reassert himself as a musical force in the group because he wasn't writing a lot of he had gone into a writing slump, and Fat Bottom Girls was one of his efforts to get out of that, which was obviously successful.
Oh, I thought Freddie had a heavy hand in that song. I guess I'm mistaken.
He did.
Well, I'm
he
sure
sang
he
it.
kibitzed.
He sang it.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
No,
but I meant
Freddie was the musical director for that group, basically.
Yeah.
Okay,
if you want to know who arranged everything, who put all the piece parts together, but the song was actually written, and the guitar lead was developed by Brian May, the astrophysicist.
I love Brian May. He's so awesome.
You and me both.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gay or anything, but I love him.
Yeah. You don't want to do him.
No homo.
You appreciate his work.
Yeah, his work.
Just a tip.
It's okay.
That's not the first time you ever said that, is it?
I'm self-censored. Okay.
Really?
Look.
I made it weird.
God, I need coffee.
Okay.
Already.
We don't usually use this during the show, but we're going to do it that time. Okay.
It hasn't even been. It's only
I
been
mean,
5 minutes.
look,
We've
I
never
kinda
had to
feel
break the
uncomfortable
anti-horny
about
spray out after
hanging
the
out
the
on
show.
this side of the day.
Jesus, people.
Uh,
All right, Functional, do you want to go ahead and get this show rolling?
Yeah, Harry gave me a little bit of an assignment, and it's space stuff, space news, spacey space.
Can I just go full screen, or
Yeah.
do you want to go with this layout?
Oh, let's go full screen. Let's get
Okay.
people
Every
to
now and
see
then
these
people will have
diagrams
to-
and everything.
Every now and then we'll have to let people talk so everybody won't forget they're there. Okay.
So, I mean, as most people know, we get hit all the time by small meteors, and they generally break up. Every once in a while, they don't fully break up and they impact, but they're so small they don't really do much harm. What happened the other day was, though, we had a very close encounter with this one asteroid that, since we've been recording it, was the closest non-hit. One of the interesting things was they were worried because it enters, you see the green circle there, that's the geosynchronous orbit that most of our satellites are in, and as you can see the trajectory, that right line is the asteroid. It goes right through, skims past Earth and then goes right through again. So we were kind of a little worried, is it going to knock out any of our satellites? Luckily, no.
How close did it get?
But it got so close. Thanks for asking. It was just over 2,000 miles over South
nothing.
America, which is kind of nothing. Like that's that's pretty freaking close. And just kind of bumped off our atmosphere and just kept on going. But yeah, that's the closest that we've ever recorded that actually hasn't hit the Earth or otherwise broken up before it hit us. You could have seen it from New York to Las Vegas. No, sorry. The distance from which it was from the Earth was the distance from about New York to Las Vegas. So, I mean, that's nothing in the grand scheme of things.
But it was really, really small. That would be like seeing a white delivery van 2,000 miles away, right?
I'd say about a mid-sized truck. Mid-sized moving van.
You'd need like a 12-inch telescope. You'd need something with some heft to it, I would think.
And they surmise, I mean, this is not a dangerous one, even if it hit. They surmise it would have been easily broken up in the atmosphere, blah, 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 blah. But again, the cool thing is we've never seen something come this close and keep going on its way. So it's exciting stuff. But it also brings up the associated topic of like, can we see enough of these things in the eventuality that Armageddon or the day after tomorrow or Deep Impact or something, that kind of a scenario where something is much bigger and could lay waste to, say, half a continent or a city or God forbid, the entire planet. This one was discovered first by, to go into a little bit of the process, a independent stargazer from Crimea. And so we have this system set up, ran by through NASA, where anyone from Joe Schmo, Harry with his telescope, to people who do this type of thing at the big fancy telescopes, to submit data. So this guy submits some data, says, "Hey, look, I saw this thing," and what you have to do is they have to communicate with the other telescopes in the world so we can get a vantage and get multiple directions so we can get some idea of A, how fast it's traveling, and B, its trajectory. Because, like I said, we want to know if something bigger is going to hit us, and if there's some way that, like the story we covered a couple months ago where we tested the density of one of the asteroids in the belt.
We had an impactor, and we wanted to see what the collision would look like and how much energy would get transferred to it by measuring the change in its orbit.
Yeah, and that's something as sort of the reactive to the proactive of how do we see these things better, because we're getting a lot better. We're getting a lot better being able to monitor the sky, but we miss a lot. And even the stuff that we see, like when I said with the independent guy in Crimea, he has to communicate his stuff to a server, and other telescopes have to communicate with that server and then look. It can take time. And when you're talking about something that could potentially hit us, time really matters. We need to have all that data as fast as possible so we can determine its trajectory, size, supposed composition, etc. Anybody have any questions so far?
I've got a few. Well, I mean, one comment. First of all, with our current level of technology, if you don't spot it well in advance, it almost doesn't matter if you spot it or not. Because we're developing the means where we can say, in 100 years, this thing might impact the Earth. We could do something about it. I think a thing like this, all we can really do is just duck and cover. This one would just break up.
Just get under your desks and.
But I didn't know if when you were looking at the guy who was the Crimean amateur astronomer who found this thing, did you notice?
Borisov.
Did you do any reading on this guy?
I did not.
Okay, so he actually also discovered a comet. Now, that's not that big a deal. Lots of people have discovered comets. But the comet that he discovered is the only comet we have on record that, well, so far, that actually is extrasolar, meaning it came from outside our solar system and it left and goes back out. It's not looping around in the Oort cloud and then coming in every 10, 20,000 years or anything like that. This thing's from somewhere else. It's from out there. So he holds the distinction of having spotted this thing, but even more so, he found a completely unique comet. Pretty good for an amateur.
Yeah.
Sorry, neither of those things were questions, really.
No, but that's good because that's something that I missed. I know that he did discover other things, but I didn't know it was something that cool.
Looks like we lost Adam's signal. Hopefully he'll be back.
So, and just to give you an idea, again, how close this thing came, it got 10 times closer to Earth than the nearest satellites in geosynchronous orbit. 10 times closer. So this thing just kind of grazed us, in the great galactic pinball game. It really came close.
It got closer to Earth than Stacey Abrams did to being governor.
Ooh.
She is the governor, I thought.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Exactly.
So you want to bring up the next one?
Of course.
Because in the spirit of this, no, that's the same one, isn't it? No, that's no, the Neo.
You want the next one after this?
Neo.
Want that
yeah.
One?
So one of the projects that we're doing to improve our coverage, because we are limited on what we can see from Earth, right? We, like I said, we need several different telescopes to be able to sort of trajectorize these celestial bodies. So one of the projects that just got approval from NASA is the Neo, the second Neo surveyor. There was the first one, which is covering a small portion of what we can cover, but having the second one that's a bit more updated with more updated tools at its disposal will dramatically improve our ability to see these things and see them at a greater distance. Because when we're talking about the James Webb, we're talking really extrasolar sort of look-see-loos, right? We're looking
except
past...
the next story we're going to talk about is the James Webb, and it's intrasolar.
But generally, yes. And its main purpose is to look beyond our solar system. That isn't to say it can't look at cool things, because we saw, the cool pictures of stuff here already, and you have more lined up, which is super cool. But these things are, their entire purpose is to keep an eye on our own solar system for NEO's near-Earth objects, potential intercepting bodies. So
yeah,
even if it was something,
identifying things that might be threats. And this is an infrared telescope, sort of like Webb, except instead of being, having the big optics that can see things really far away, this is actually, I would guess, and I couldn't find the details, really super wide field.
Yeah.
Because what you want us to do is look at a big patch of sky and then go back and look at it and see if anything moved. And the faster you can grab those images and then make the comparisons, the more quickly you detect something.
Yeah, Webb is a sniper rifle. This thing is a shotgun. It's going to be able to take really good pictures really fast, because it's also going to be a lot closer to us. So the transmission time will be a lot quicker. Time matters in these kinds of scenarios, and you want to be able to triangulate really quickly. So this is going to be launched no later than June 2028, and that's exciting to me because NASA just approved this. December 8th. So it was just a couple months ago. I thought it was sooner than that, but
no, it just happened.
It's really exciting that we're taking this stuff seriously, even though a lot of people get lost in the news and be like, Space Force. Yeah, but we still need to kind of still pay attention, because you never know. Like, do I'd like to think that we're a little bit more intelligent than the dinosaurs, and I'd hate to just be offed by a flying chunk of rock. Maybe we can develop a planetary shield or something. Now I'm sounding like Ian Crossland. I'll stop. But yeah, that's really cool that we have the next evolution in the NEO surveyors.
It's cool that they're doing something.
This project is guesstimated. It's being marketed as being able to up our ability to discover and characterize at least 90% of the potentially hazardous asteroids and comets that come within 30 million miles of Earth's orbit. Like I said, this is our version of like a telescopic shotgun for our own backyard. We're making sure all the varmints stay away. And if you want to bring up the one you just had and then scroll down to
this one.
Yeah, there's a real-time graph I wanted to show just to give people some perspective. It was that. And then just scroll over it, and there it brings up all those little tiny blue dots are basically asteroids, smaller bits of stuff. The bigger ones, the ones that are named, those are obviously much bigger celestial bodies. They all have really cool names.
This is Apophis. So any of you Stargate fans know this one is a bad one.
Yeah. And then there's Didymus, which is, if you want, you can scroll mouse wheel out, and it'll sort of, so you can see that there's this like big cloud of stuff right around our sort of neighborhood. And man, there's so much there that we could take advantage of, Harry.
Yeah,
there's
good segue.
There's minerals. There's potential for water. I mean, everybody loves water. We need water to survive. And wouldn't you know it, another company has put together a nice, good enough plan to get funding to test their space mining tech. So they're actually going to be developing this tech in the real world, not just computer models, to, once we get up there, be able to, say, land this thing on one of the bigger rocks and start literally bringing home the gold, bringing home that cobalt, titanium, frozen water, maybe. The sky's the limit.
That would
obviously
be some expensive
we still have a little
water.
bit of well, yeah, but there's a little bit of a gap here, because we still need to be able to get these things to and fro cost effectively. Don't want to get too much into it, but like a way station above Earth, or maybe closer to the moon or something, that we can send the things from there to these asteroids and back, as opposed to launching a rocket directly to these asteroids every time, which that's a huge expenditure of energy. But as an aside,
if you're going to get something from the Earth to that asteroid, you're going to have to spend that energy, aren't you?
Initially, I think the idea is to start what they're looking at in this particular thing is they're actually looking at mining in space
Mm-hmm.
and then sending the materials back. But I think it's somewhat misguided. The real bonus here is having the materials up there to begin with, and then start manufacturing in space.
Yes.
So you avoid the round trip.
At least refining. At least some refinement of the ore. If you're shipping
that's what
ore
they're
back
talking.
to Earth, that's
That's exactly what this
make.
project is. And the first step is to basically send up a model of their mining and refining stuff, and they're going to it's basically going to be sent into 0G with some material that is asteroid like. It's not actually going to be actual asteroid. That's going to be the first test, just to make sure it kind of works. And then they're going to, each successive step, go a little further, actually go to the asteroid, actually mine the asteroid, actually return stuff from the asteroid. And with each iteration, it'll be closer to something real.
I accidentally closed the window, but I think Astroforge isn't the first company to put forth a worthwhile proposal on their tech to start developing. I think there's a half a dozen companies now.
Yeah, but they're the first one to launch, I think.
They're going to be the first ones to be able to launch. And to just rewind a second, that's what I meant by like some sort of way station, Skep, is you want to be able to get these miners up into space and then leave them there, right? So you want them to go from this way station to the asteroid, get the materials, bring it back to the way station, where, eventually they could build these great refineries on the moon or in orbit. And once it's refined and we can lose some of the extra weight, we can just drop it back down to Earth on one of Elon's amazing little landing pad things. But the expenditure of constantly bringing machinery up into space, into orbit, we're trying to cut that out so it's more economical and,
I think we should let AI in space design the things and build them in space. I can't see what would go wrong with that.
Well, they'd be horribly
that'll
racist.
Be fine.
Yeah.
Because AI
That'll
is
be fine.
racist, don't you know?
It is. I think that's it for this story, unless there's more of it.
Sorry, I accidentally closed the tab, and I just wanted to quickly bring it up. Something, So the spacecraft itself, I wanted to mention, was their first design is supposed to be about 220 pounds.
And it's still not cheap to put that into orbit.
No. But I mean, obviously, they're starting small to see if they can get the technology to work. Because if it can go up, grab even a small sample, and come back in a way that we can recover that sample and the machinery is relatively intact, then they can start scaling up and developing something that could actually, in 50 years, 30 years, whatever, get to one of the get to Apophis, say, land on Apophis, hollow that sumbitch out, and bring the goodies home so that everybody is rich and we completely devalue the price of gold.
Well, the current problem we've been having, well, at least in California and other parts of the U.S., where people are stealing catalytic converters.
Yeah.
All of this stuff that we want to do with fuel cell technology and a lot of the technology that we actually need for, all the electric motors for these electric cars, these all involve materials that are actually relatively scarce on Earth. And we have to either do something like redesign electric motors not to need permanent magnets, which people are working on.
And not to sound like a bleeding heart, but a lot of those minerals are also not exactly ethically obtained, let's say.
Yeah, well, some of them. The other ones are that people who have most of the supplies and refining capacity don't like us very much. I would rather have space be an alternative to war. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, the more space works, the less likely we are to start killing each other off on this planet to get these limited resources.
And the possibility of discovery, too. We don't actually know what would happen if, again, to use the the example of Apophis, if we mined out, you know, a couple tons of rock and minerals outside of Apophis, what might also be in there that we just might discover for the first time?
Could be a
Other
monolith.
minerals or matter that we've never experienced yet.
Yeah,
Never
could
discovered.
be. We won't know until we go.
Exciting. It's exciting. It's a good time to be alive, people.
You just want the expanse to be real. I know what you're.
I
gunning
really
for.
do. I really do.
you just can't help yourself.
I think it's amazing that, you know, the potential is very real that we could have colonies out there gardening our backyard.
Well, like Vincent was saying, I mean, the next step is obviously, was it Utopia Planitia on Mars? Isn't that right, Skep?
Yep.
Is it Jupiter?
No,
Utopia
isn't Mars?
Planitia
Isn't that
outside
where
of-
isn't that where they build all the spaceships? And,
I guess.
the
Right.
big spaceships
Yeah,
in Star Trek.
Because every single science fiction universe seems to think Mars is going to be our big manufacturer. Same things in like Warhammer, in
Mars is
Like-
nicer to the landers that we send there than Venus is.
A lot of them just sort of disappeared, though. It was almost like there was a bit of a curse.
Yeah,
We
there
started
was
to
for
really get a
while.
bit of an inferiority complex. It was very Ray Bradbury, the rate at which they just sort of kept disappearing.
and regardless of what Arnold will have you believe, we cannot terraform Mars, but we could at least set up, again, refineries, way stations, things that would help us continue our exploration and gathering of these resources. That's really
Well, let's talk about the James Webb, I think, because I think,
Oh, yeah.
well, if we have to do one thing first, thank you, Functional.
cool. Oh,
Appreciate
thank
you
you.
doing that, saving my voice. And I know you like space stuff, so it wasn't too big an ask, hopefully.
I like space and I like money.
Okay, so the James Webb Space Telescope discovered something about an object that we have known about for a while. I'm going to say it's Cariclo Shemp.
Shemp.
Is the name of this asteroid, and I actually didn't really know much about this particular type of object. In your thing that we were looking at here, I think there was, which thing had the locator? You might notice in this, because I can actually use this, that there's a
it
whole
cool?
bunch of stuff up close to Earth, right? But if you get out past Jupiter's orbit, between Jupiter and Saturn, the number of those dots gets to be fairly small. And between Saturn and Uranus, or Uranus if you prefer, there's even
There's no
less
dots
stuff
around
floating
Uranus.
around there. There is a class of objects which they call centaurs, which are basically things they're like comets that have just sort of fallen in between Uranus and the asteroid belt. So they're these big icy objects. And this thing that I was just talking about is actually the largest of them, Shemp. And it, weirdly enough, they've discovered two things. They were able to actually find, using the James Webb Telescope, that this thing has water ice, not just water ice, but ice crystals, which says a lot about what's going on that sort of thing. It's at a minimum 12 astronomical units from Earth. It's not something that we can readily send a mission to because of where it's located relative to us. It would be very hard for us to send a probe to this thing to check it out. But the James Webb soldiers on and was able to figure out a lot about the composition of this thing. So, you know, here we can see in the near infrared spectrometer, it actually shows the absorption of the water ice. So score 1 for Webb. But more importantly than that, this freaking thing, basically the equivalent of something that's 260 miles across, it's oblong, actually has a ring system. And we didn't think that it was possible for something this small to actually have freaking rings. It has not one, but 2 rings.
Get the fuck out of here.
What they did is they wanted to get a look at this thing, and they didn't know what they were going to find. So they identified it as a target of opportunity, meaning, hey, if a bright star happens to be passing behind this thing, can we make arrangements ahead of time to retarget the Webb and watch what happens as this passes in front of a bright star? And by doing this, they were actually able to see these 2 dips.
See the rings, yeah.
And that is actually, even though we can't resolve it, because even Webb can't resolve something this small, we were able to detect the rings surrounding this 260 kilometer diameter thing.
My mind is
Yeah.
literally blown right now. That is incredible.
Yeah. I love the Webb telescope so much. I really do. No homo.
Yeah, for that to have a ring system, don't you think that probably has to have been those bodies, the bodies that are orbiting it, that has been their principal influence? That might be a very, very old thing.
It's probably from the Kuiper belt. Now, one thing about this this guy here, let me see if I have the right thing.
I agree that Kuiper belt is the logical place to look, but
So here's some information about this guy. And what you'll notice here in his orbit is not in the plane of the solar system. Another reason why you can tell this guy was probably captured from somewhere out in the Kuiper belt.
yeah, I think he's a visitor.
I think there's a Kryptonian inside.
So this thing is actually kind of interesting. It's just that of it in itself, it isn't really that important, I don't think. But I think it's a great example of how we really are getting our money's worth out of Webb, because Webb's going to be running for a long time, and it's just going to keep delivering stuff like this. So I feel a lot better. If it had been a $10 billion flop, I would be pretty pissed off right now. But I think we're getting our money's worth out of this thing so far.
And I'm glad we're using it for projects like this. Like you said, when there was this tiny window and saying, hey, can we just quickly snapshot this while that window is there? And, we can do that while still photographing beyond the system.
Yeah, they have a database of targets of opportunities, what they call it. So everybody's being very quiet. Are there any questions from anybody? No?
When will they have the warp drive?
I'm working on it as fast as I can. I keep telling you, not much further. Are we there yet? No.
It's the propulsion system of the future, just like fusion.
No. So also a thing that NASA's been working on is a new type of airline design. I know it seems fairly mundane, but by giving trusses that basically hold the wings up and making them ridiculously long, they think they can save almost 10% on the fuel bill of airliners. Now, 10% doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot.
That changes the industry.
It changes the entire industry.
It does. Every single part of that industry will react to that, from the unions to the pilots to everybody. Everybody will react to that. That's huge.
Yeah.
Can we just give them warp drive, Skep?
That's what this is. That's what this is. Warp drive for aerodynamics.
If you drink enough on the plane, it's like warp drive.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Are we there? Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's what those tiny bottles of Jack Daniels are for. No, but this actually should be kind of interesting. Ultimately, they may be able to save even as much as 30% with some of the new technologies they're working on. There's this whole goal to have them go carbon neutral. I mean, honestly, considering that the rest of the world isn't trying all that hard, I'm not sure we should tank our entire aircraft industry to not fix the problem. So, but I do think if we can save 10% on our fuel bill, why not?
What would be the problem with shutting down air travel except for the elites, so that people wouldn't have to travel? They wouldn't have to make business trips anymore. They wouldn't have
like in the good old days?
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you were a kid?
1885, right? Yeah.
Go up to the cockpit and they'd say, "Hey, little Skep, got you some wings," and then they'd ask you if you like gladiator movies. No, wait, that was another thing.
Kitty Hawk?
Yeah, exactly.
That is so funny. Actually, I will share the story. Harry is making light of the fact that when I flew to Belgium in 1959, the co-pilot and my dad were friends. My dad was an Air Force officer, and he'd served with this guy. And so they invited me into the front of this propeller-driven Lockheed Constellation Super G over the Atlantic Ocean on the way to the Azores, and then on to Frankfurt from New Jersey, where we were flying to start our life over in Belgium. And that was a propeller-driven aircraft, and I got to actually sit on the co-pilot's lap and hold the yoke in my hands. It was really amazing. And he kind of eased the bank one way and then eased it back, straight on the line, showed me how to, they homed in on a beacon. I didn't understand what that was. I had just completed the second grade, but I was extremely interested. It was a big deal. And then interestingly later, three years later, I was a sophisticated, I had completed the 5th grade at this point. I'm flying back to the United States, and on a Boeing 707. This was a jet plane. I'd never been on a jet before. I've been flying all over Europe in propeller-driven places. Never been on a jet before. Got in the jet. It was like a spacecraft. I will never forget that. It was the first time I'd ever seen one of these things. You could reach up and twist this thing and it would blow on your face. And there was a lamp too. I was absolutely enchanted. And they did come around and they gave us all little pairs of plastic wings.
Yeah, and they had ashtrays in the seat handles.
They had smoking on board. They did not have a non-smoking section.
That I can remember.
The plane was smoking.
Because that's what cool
when
people
I was a baby,
did.
I was on a plane.
Because nicotine keeps you slim. Anyway,
right.
Green Badger Outdoor asked a really, and I'm not trying to sound patronizing or sarcastic. He is asking exactly the right question. Whatever did happen to the blended wing body airliners Boeing was supposed to be coming out with? This is a complete 180 from that, is the answer to that question. A lot of people are asking exactly that question. So are they going to do the research on both in parallel, or are they going to jump just to this one? I don't know the answer to that. But yeah, this is a complete 180 from that approach. The whole blended wing body thing has certain advantages. But, sort of lifting bodies in general are kind of interesting. People, I think we've talked about them in previous episodes. One of the things that's kind of odd about those is people might really instinctively not like being in a giant flying thing where they can't see a window. They were talking about putting screens in to sort of simulate the experience, but you'd have like this huge body and almost nobody would be anywhere near a window. They're not sure how commercially humans would really want to do this thing. This design is really tailored for single aisle, narrow, smaller airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular thing would basically replace your 727, 737. So you'd have really economical short haul domestic travel. Later, they might adapt it to something else. I wouldn't be at all surprised, honestly, if the lifting body type thing becomes more of a long haul international type thing, and then they use planes like this for the shorter hops. But we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah, you could do a cost benefit analysis.
Wow, another fantastic question. Yeah, that's another one of the problems. The wings on this thing are ridiculously long.
Yep.
I can't remember which plane it is that they've already come out with, where I think was it the 787 that actually the wingtips fold because there are limits to how much room you can take up when you basically I don't want to say berth, but when you move up to the terminal of the airplanes, there's a limit. And yeah, so this is going to screw all of that sort of thing up. But 10% fuel efficiency is enough to motivate them to do a lot.
It's the 777 with the folded wingtips.
Is it 777?
Yeah,
okay.
777.
Damn you, Thunderfoot, for debunking the Hyperloop. Would have solved all
Serenity.
our problems.
What were you going to say?
Me?
I heard Serenity for a moment.
Oh.
Now she's gone.
You did put the link to the show, not the article, in the chat, by the way.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Well, that could be a problem.
Nah. So, just based on the information at hand, is this actually more sustainable, or is this just snake oil?
Well, I guess I'm going to be saying I'm just going to be rejecting people if they start abusing that. Oh well. Okay, so
you're not wrong, Assassin. The unions will demand to make a lot of money off of this, or else they will stand in the way.
Yep.
It's kind of what they do.
All right. Well, let's see. Moving on to the next thing. Oh, Serenity, are you back?
I've been here but everybody else was talking, so I didn't see the point.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Do you want to go ahead and do your thing, or do you have any questions before we switch over to your thing?
No, I'm good. I have seen a video on Instagram though of the wingtips like folding in real time. It's rather terrifying.
Yeah.
I already hate planes. It's like this is not good for me. Oh god.
Skep, would you do me a favor and remove that link? I actually don't have a Minions login at the moment. I'm doing this all from StreamYard. I don't think I can kill it.
I'll remove. Oh yeah, no problem.
Sort of putting myself in timeout. Okay.
No. I've got it.
Thank you.
I'm out.
All right. So go ahead, Serenity. I'll share your screen. We found a cool thing, which I asked Serenity to talk about because as a Ark enthusiast, I thought she was the perfect person for this.
Anything that will dox my ass? No. Okay. I was just making sure. It's like, let me make sure that I don't dox my butt.
Okay.
Yay! So just to explain, this is technically part of the Anki family. Now, it's not just called an Anki. It's called an Ankylosaurus. But they're called Ankyloptia, I think is what it's called. It was found in Alberta in 2017. It is like the most perfectly preserved dinosaur ever. And I have bigger pictures to show how preserved this thing is. That's the main one. But like this is its skull. And it was so perfectly preserved that they even still have the contents of its belly. They know what it ate last before it died. And everything like that. But it was found in Alberta. I believe it was at one of the I have one of the further articles in here. But that's what it's supposed to look like in real life. Isn't it cute?
It looks a lot like that in the picture you showed previously.
I know, that's what's cool. Like, that's how perfectly preserved it is. Like, you can still see the scaling in some spots. I mean, let me make this real big. Like, you can actually still kind of see the scaling in parts. You can see, like, it's just, oh, I love this shit. I love it. I love dinosaurs. Oh, God. Don't dox myself. You can see what it's just, oh. But that's what it's supposed to look like in real life. Well, except for the coloring, because we never know their coloring. But there was no feathers found on him either, even though he's perfectly preserved. So there's a belief that dinosaurs at one point split, and some started to grow feathers, and some started to just keep their plating and stuff like that. But
so when was this guy supposed to be roaming? I think he's Cretaceous, right?
He was Cretaceous period. And as far as they can tell, it's at least the article didn't go too much into it, because I tried to see if they knew how he died. But this is the actual thing for the Royal Tyrrell Museum, because he was found in Alberta because they were just digging for oil.
Well, hold on. I think isn't it Jurassic, Triassic, Cretaceous? It's the third. So he's a later dinosaur.
Yes, it should be down here.
Okay.
I believe it said Cretaceous.
No, I'm just trying to remember my geologic time period. So
good luck with that, because that's
he's
a nightmare.
He's fairly advanced as dinosaurs go. He's almost at the point of look up. Oh, what's that in the sky?
Well, that's the thing, is like they're not quite sure. At least nothing I found actually said what they. Yeah, here he is, Cretaceous.
Okay.
They're not quite sure what killed him. They do know that he got swept out to sea after he died. We're going to call it he, because we're just going to go with it.
Yeah.
And then a layer of silt and rock and not concrete, but I think they called it a concretion, like sediment settled over top of him and perfectly preserved him. So like the animal went extinct 100 million years ago. So he's been dead a while.
This has got to be like a 1 in a billion occurrence.
Oh, it is. It's a big deal. Like you can even see his little footy pads. His little footy pads.
Yeah.
Where he died. Like he is so perfectly preserved. They know how the scaling now is on the body. That's how they know, because you can see the scaling right there.
Yeah. That's a lot better than just having a pile of bones.
Well, and that's what they were talking about. Like, it took them forever to get him out because of they were being painstaking about it, and the researchers who ended up pulling his body out of the silt were very thankful to the company who found him, because they were like, they very well could have just said fuck it and just busted him and not even cared, and just because I think they were drilling for oil, I think is what it was. Because
Alberta, probably, yeah.
Yeah, bedrock, Alberta every year, yeah. But yeah, no, it's like I'm trying to. Yeah, there it is, Millennium Mine.
Well, he was found in an area that was wet, so I think there was some conjecture that he was basically part of some big flood or was swept out to sea, or
that was the reason why he got preserved.
Yeah,
is because he was swept out to sea. This is the entire.
Because he's a landosaur, not an ocean.
Yeah, they're very slow moving. Some of them have, if you play Ark, some of them have the bulbous end that they believe was used kind of sort of like a mallet to defend themselves, or to even do like mating dances, like beating their tail on the ground. He does not have one, at least by the picture that they were able to conceptualize. Because if you see, he doesn't have that, but he has these massive spikes on the side. So it's kind of the showing of, it's a level of the biodiversity that for the longest time they didn't think existed, because especially if you remember back to when I was a kid, back in the 80s and 90s, everybody only thought there was only one frilled headed dinosaur, which was the Triceratops. Everybody only thought that there was the Brachiosaurus, and that was it. Everybody only thought there was the T-Rex, and because that was all we found at the time. But at the same time, the biodiversity didn't lean into it. I still love the fact that Spielberg was right about the raptors, but that's another thing entirely. But it does kind of lean into, because like this, and they don't even think this is like all of these guys are listed right here, because he's not even part of this list. Like how many other versions of the Yankee, and they all would have been around the same time. They would have been all in the Cretaceous period, because that was the only time that was enough foliage to have produced and allowed these kind of lower, slower walking dinosaurs to be able to survive. Because they found that while there was fern matter in his stomach, they also found that there was kind of like a woolly, not an animal. It wasn't like another animal. It was like a woolly, like moss in his stomach as well. So I love dinosaurs. They don't think he was a swimmer just because of the style of his feet, because they weren't that conducive to swimming.
He looks more like a sinker than a floater.
And that's kind of what they think. They think the plating on its back and the large protrusions on the side, those bony protrusions, added enough weight and took away buoyancy that's part of the reason why when he died he sunk. And that because they don't think it's a mudslide, because they don't see anything else that would have caused like a mudslide to do that kind of stuff. So they think that he just was that fucking heavy, and he just went down. Because they also don't find any bite marks on him. Like there's no, because normally they would go for the head.
No signs of trauma.
Yeah, and other than just, I think that's even his tongue sticking out at the front, right here. Like that's his petrified tongue.
But too bad he wasn't a carnivore, because he could have eaten another dinosaur that had eaten another dinosaur, and we'd have like Cretaceous turducken.
Or
all perfectly preserved. Yeah,
now,
it's just amazing, because you can see the scales, man. Like that's scales.
Yeah, that's something we don't get to see. Like that's incredible. Is this type of dino also found in different regions of the world?
Well, that's the thing. The overall family is found out throughout the world, but they're kind of like cats, in that they have different versions. Like he was kind of the in-between height, because there were some really short ones that were like the size of like a medium-sized dog, and then there were some massive ones that were almost the size of stegos. North America had a good portion of them, but he was kind of the in-between size.
Well, North
But
America wasn't really a thing. It was Pangea, then,
Pangea.
wasn't it, Skep?
I think Pangea
No,
was
in
covered over the Cretaceous period.
you're talking about Mesozoic, so the Earth was pretty well looked a lot like it does now.
We're talking about the Cretaceous.
Cretaceous.
That's in the Mesozoic.
Right.
It's
I'm
the
trying to
late part of
remember.
the Mesozoic.
I'm just trying to. Okay. I don't have the notes for that. So I'm just. So you're thinking. Okay. So Pangea was much further back
Oh,
than
here we
that.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
This
talking
is-
70 million years ago,
This is
roughly.
About what it looked like, supposedly, at the time.
Ah.
So we were kind of
My memory was that
because this is China.
South America and Africa were
Yeah.
farther apart. I knew some kids in school in Africa, and at one point the land bridge disappeared. I remember.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I think he's also 100. I think this fossil's also 100 million years old. So he's not the end of the Cretaceous.
Oh, he's
but
not
yeah,
the end of the Cretaceous. See, it could
No,
be
he's
as long
early.
as 140 million years old. And
He
Yeah.
could be.
Wait, they're listing him as 100 million.
Champsosaurus.
okay, well that's
So,
firmly in the Cretaceous.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and this is what taking away the fact of where it was positioned on Earth. Alberta would have been in this part where it would have. That wasn't like because look underwater. Oh look, Texas.
And
By the
California
way, if you
still
want to know
sucks.
what preceded the Cretaceous, you know what it was. It was the
Skep's
Jurassic.
birthday.
It was Jurassic.
Yeah.
That was when I was born. Yeah, during the Jurassic period.
And then my favorite thing, the Appalachians are
park.
right there.
I thought you were from the Devonian, but you look good for your age.
Here we go. Oh,
I
here we
just
go.
because I always found it fascinating with all
Bit of
these
work done.
recent discoveries, Serenity, that we find these basically cousins of different species, like almost all over the world with some of these.
Is there going to be an ARC update because of this?
Oh no, Arc 2 is coming out at some point, so there's no more Arc updates. But anyway, he
Okay,
was
so it moves a little bit.
so it's this is kind of the map of how they believe
Where's
everything
Atlantis?
moved. In hell.
With your mom.
Exactly. I just love the fact that Antarctica is just chilling down there. No, wait, yeah, whatever. But it's one of those things that like Alberta, because of the Appalachians and everything like that, seems to be the only thing that's stuck around. Although it is funny to watch the water eat everything.
Recede. Yeah.
But
What are you doing,
like,
Adam?
are you alive, Adam? Still kicking with us there, buddy? I love
He may
them.
have stepped away. He may have
I
stepped
love
away.
Yeah,
them.
no, yeah.
Oh, there he is.
water
We haven't
in
forgotten about you.
California and all that.
Okay.
What's your favorite
Dinosaurs.
dinosaur, Adam?
Yeah, what's your
I
favorite
like
dinosaur?
I like Stegosaurus. That's the one-
Stegos.
Yeah.
Stegos are neat.
Yeah, they have
It
the
is. It
the
is
thing on
kind
the
of
thing.
interesting when you're looking at dinosaurs how it seems that a lot of the predator dinos were the ones that grew feathers and a lot of the prey ones didn't. It gets because if you look at all the ones that everyone thinks have feathers, or at least we have proof that they had some kind of feathering, even if they aren't feathers as we know them.
Or as
All
you
of
put
them
it,
were
bird
predators.
hipped. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're almost all predators.
And almost all of them were bipedal. I can't think of any of them that were. They may have been quadrupedal for a short time, but they were never quadrupedal for very long. They were usually like able to go in between. The ideas about the Spino have changed as well because they thought Spinos were aquatic. Spinos are the guys with the big frills on their back. Once again, if you played Ark, you know what I'm talking about. The big old pain in the ass. But they thought they were semi-aquatic, then they thought they were fully aquatic. Now they're saying they're not. They were just semi-aquatic now. Like, it's amazing how one dinosaur can change, like finding even one dinosaur that supposedly isn't connected to anything can change everything. Because they found prey of the Spino and they were like, oh, it's not aquatic, so there's no way in hell it would be aquatic. Because these were things weren't even close to water. So
Yeah.
like I want to know what the spines were for.
Well, like I said in the space segment, like, you know, every time we learn something like this, it just proves to me again just how little we freaking know about anything. You know, and it's incredible. There's so much to discover.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
What's like they recently discovered that the reason why the T-Rex's eyes couldn't be the actual normal, because the T-Rex's eyes technically are stupid for its face, because it should have better eyes for the ability to be more telescopic and look around better. But it's not, and they found out why is because the type of eyes it does have are more able to handle the stress of the jaw going down on the jaw of the bite.
Yeah.
because they found if it was the regular, like almost tube-shaped eyes that some other animals have, they
Would
couldn't
crush
handle
its
it.
own
So the eyes adapted to handle the bite force of the T-Rex, which is apparently astronomically terrifying.
Kind of like an
Yeah.
e-girl. Giggity.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. But it's one of those things. They didn't when they come out with the news that T-Rexes were able to unhinge their jaws like snakes. Then I will be absolutely terrified for anything
TikTok
Jurassic Park
bots.
related. Speaking of evil.
Alrighty then.
But no, it's like I love my dinosaurs. I love my dinosaurs.
Dude, it is so cool to be able to see the scales. Like that is so cool.
The only thing that would have made it better is if we could see color. That is the only thing that would have made it better, because then we would know.
Do you think
are they
by
colored?
testing the fossil they could tell what the composition would be of its epidermis?
At this
No.
point, it's actually
No?
rock.
Okay.
No.
I don't know
No.
much about it.
Well,
Well, this
like
is
the-
something where Skep can tell you, but the chemicals that cause color in an organic thing like this are
Would've
not going to hold up to
bled away
the
long
environment
ago.
that they were in.
No,
I think as
sad.
much.
Yeah, we're lucky that we
Photopharmic
have.
breakdown is a thing.
Yeah, we're lucky
We-
that we have. Well, I mean, like for instance, if a leaf falls somewhere in Canada in the mud and leaves a fossil, you're not going to know what time of year it was. Let's just
Mhm.
put it that way.
So it's kind of like the Jurassic Park thing where we literally have to find some DNA stuck in like amber or something that would have preserved it.
And even then, it's
Have
still a
any sort of
crapshoot.
inkling?
You're still having to go off the dominant and recessive genes, and
Yeah,
how do you
yeah,
figure out
yeah.
which one's dominant. How do you figure out which one?
No, but I meant like I didn't mean like the actual DNA. I meant that as the example. Like if we found
Yeah.
a scale or something, then we could be like, oh, this dino was green or something. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's part of the reason why the feather thing was always a problem, because feathers degrade easier,
Yeah.
and especially
Yeah.
when you consider some of the massive ecological and meteorological trauma that a lot of these bodies went through before they were even partially preserved. Feathers aren't going to survive that.
Well, they can leave an imprint,
And
much like a
they
plant
can.
can or a fern or a lot of other
But
types
it's
of
a-
things. But
it's
that's
a-
it.
It's a
How
high crapshoot.
long? How long would this fellow here fuel my Geo Metro? It's
No,
a joke.
that's a good question.
That's not how that works.
I
Yeah.
know, but like
Would be
TYT would tell
interesting
you
to know.
otherwise.
We used to have better ads for gasoline when I was a kid. You know, that was the one where like the dinosaur would turn into oil and just
Right,
jump in
yeah.
your tank.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay, he's so pretty, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those old
The-
ads.
The one thing
Absolutely.
I couldn't find, and it was a thing that kind of aggravated me, is that I wanted to know how big his brain was, or how big they think it was.
Mm.
Because that's
Bigger
the one
than
thing I
Adam
wanted.
Schiff's.
Because I mean, if you look at the size of his head's a pretty good size. He'd be able to fit a pretty decent brain in there. It's just because it'd be interesting to find out how intelligent, if they're like,
Are you talking
if-
about Ankylosaurus?
well, he's part of the ankloid family, yeah. But yeah, this guy.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah. Are you talking about the ankloid family of dinosaurs?
Oh yeah, these guys, these beautiful people. Look at all of them.
He wouldn't need to be very smart.
They wouldn't, but it'd still be an interesting thing to think about, because I'm just always curious about, were their brains as tiny as everyone keeps saying it was? Was it just a different shaped brain? Did it just work differently?
Yeah.
Their nervous systems were different than ours. They had different
Oh.
problems. So
yeah.
they were more of a distributed system.
Typical,
Yeah,
Sorry,
they had,
Gio.
they had-
brain side.
They had the brain
Typical
in the
brain
butt.
side. Typical brain size was 26.5 grams on a 3-meter Biscat Pelta, which is one part of that group.
So not only is he more handsome, he's got a bigger brain than Brian Stelter. Got it.
Exactly, and that's not that
Substantially
hard
larger.
to
And a
do.
much better looking dome.
Yeah, and the alopecia isn't as apparent.
They're so cute.
I love these renditions too.
I know, it's so good. I was like, oh, I
Well,
wish they
I'm
would.
glad you enjoyed looking at this thing. Is,
I love
is
it.
there more, or should I
Oh no,
move
I
us forward?
can wax poetic about dinosaurs for days. So
All
I'm
right,
just
well,
stop
I'm gonna
presenting now.
move us forward then. Let's
Wax poetic. I love dinosaurs so much. I
go
love them.
back to
the reason why I love
normal
art.
layout.
Ankylosauruses were deaf. Did you know that?
Doesn't surprise me, considering
I had
how easy-
a pet, and I would say,
He'd call his
Rover.
name, he would just run out. He'd just run off.
I just sit there sleeping, waiting for smaller dinosaurs to come by.
Yeah. Skep's like, I know you can hear me.
Quack.
Don't do
Damn it,
this.
Jim! I'm a dinosaur, not a dog.
1,
Subsonic talking.
2.
Stomp on the ground.
So I think because we're actually doing okay on time, and Sora wasn't able to make it tonight, I'm going to delay the article, which I know you really want me to talk about, Skep. I hope you
No,
don't.
it's okay.
You're not gonna unfriend me over this.
No, it's just the anticipation gets better and better.
Okay.
I want to talk about when Sora's here.
All right. Well, we can talk about this. A controversial expert is appointed to Biden food panel after claiming that obesity can't be treated with exercise and good diet because it's genetic. We'll now tell Americans what to eat. So this is a woman whose last name is Stanford, not to be confused with somebody who attended the fine educational
Her first name is Fat. What does that tell you?
Fat
I am a.
Fat Stanford. So Fat Stanford. We're gonna add Fat Stanford onto the. So what did old Fat say?
Here's what she actually said.
If you diet, you lose weight.
One component.
Right? The number one cause of obesity is genetics. That means if you are born to parents that have obesity, you have a 50 to 85% likelihood of having the disease yourself, even with optimal diet, exercise, sleep management, stress management. So when people see families that have obesity, the assumption is, what are they feeding those kids?
The thought had crossed my mind.
Oh my God, this person is retarded.
So she's going to be responsible for figuring out what stuff goes in this stupid pyramid.
What the fuck?
Oh my God.
What?
Oh my God. No, the reason why fat parents generally have fat children is because they share the same dietary choices. You dumb moron.
Well, genetics does have something
to
do with it, because it just means that, the ancestors, the food was scarce and the ancestors were really good at not dying when food was scarce. That's okay. That's a good thing, right? But it doesn't mean...
No, Harry.
Hold on. I'm in the middle of a sentence. Let me finish. So the point is, but that does not mean that there isn't a caloric restriction and exercise regime that won't address that. It just means it's a little more difficult. She's trying to say that all that really matters, that basically the genetics outweighs everything else. It's just not your fault. It's not your fault.
I mean, as far as the genetics, there's different body sizes and shapes, but we're talking obesity here. Obesity is not genetic.
I think it's considered to be haram to say that word now. Isn't there another story I saw recently saying that the O word is not something we're allowed to say?
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, I know. I'm just waiting for Susan to come on down us. Go, Skep.
I just want to talk about Fat Stanford for a minute.
Okay.
This is what happens when you take she was probably a B student in school and say, you are a black woman, we're going to make you a star. You've got a little bit of ability in math and science. So we're going to pump you through the stuff. So she goes through Emory University, and she got a bachelor in science there. If you graduate from Emory with any kind of grades, and you're a black woman, you can go to almost any medical school in the country. She went to the worst medical school in the United States, which is the Georgia Southern or Augusta University or Georgia Medical School, State of Georgia Medical School. It's the same one that my cousin went through, and it's for people who can't get into medical school anywhere else. This tells me that her grades were probably not amazing at Emory, which is one of the most liberal schools in the United States, and that they tried to help her. So what did they do? They say, okay, we got this doctor. She actually made it through medical school. She gets out, and we've got to make her better. What can we do? Well, we'll send her to Harvard so she can have Harvard honor thing. She'll get a meaningless master's in public administration, where she practically have people write the papers for her. That's a hand you degree at Harvard that is made to burnish largely to burnish that. The other thing I noticed is that she has an MBA. Say what you want, the doctors. I actually went through the executive MBA program with an orthopedic surgeon who was in our class. You tend to get the very most brilliant doctors going through and getting an MBA, or the ones who are failed MDs, which is what I suspect we're dealing with. Now she will say, well, I just didn't want to go to clinical. Really? You took up a place in medical school because you didn't want to go into clinical? Well, no, you were being groomed. She's essentially been groomed for this, in my opinion, and she probably turned out to be a loose cannon. Now they're going hands off. We've created another monster, and now she's out and she's going to inhabit this board and tell people that obesity has nothing to do with, or has less to do with the amount of food that they eat or what they eat, and more about something that they have absolutely no control over. This is not a step forward.
Yeah. Well, it's bad because much like quackery in medicine is, Steve Jobs had a cancer that was totally treatable, especially with the amount of money and resources he had at his disposal. Early diagnosis. But he was convinced by bad actors that instead of getting conventional treatment, aggressive, that he should try some alternative BS. And because of that, by the time he realized that the cancer was getting worse and worse, they couldn't do anything for him. And this is the kind of thing that happens here. Instead of talking about, food deserts and exercise and, trying to convince kids to go outside and play, infrared, just all the different things the health issues that they have, we're just going to blame it all on genetics.
Right. I hate this so much. This is going to mean hopeless obesity for a lot of people who don't need to go down that road. This smiling black authority figure is going to be up there saying, it's okay. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Everything's fine, healthy at any size. And she appears to be just a completely, I saw the whole interview with her. She appears to be really a weak thinker, frankly.
Yeah. Well,
she's going to get people killed prematurely.
And make the lives of people a lot worse than they would have been otherwise.
Because we used to, there should be a social stigma pressure to want to be in better shape and be healthier. This push to normalize everything is so wrong.
Well, I mean, there, on the one hand,
I'm not saying
going after people is one thing, right? That's right, sort of the normalizing we're talking about. But at the same time, I don't think that if somebody causes a problem for themselves, it's anybody else's business to abuse them. We don't have to participate in their little fantasy, mind you.
Not talking abuse. I'm just saying that somebody who is, again, obese, we're talking obesity here. So somebody who is obese should know that their lifestyle is unhealthy. Now, what they decide to do, whether they want to continue down that path or maybe change their life around, try to get a little bit healthier, tack on a few extra years onto their life, that's up to them. But I think that there should be that social stigma of, you're unhealthy. You're making a choice. I know when I smoke this cigarette, I'm doing something insanely unhealthy for me.
It's only the social stigma part of it that I'm picking up on.
Okay, maybe I don't
fundamentally disagree with you.
I'm wording it wrongly.
Well, I don't know if you thought it through completely. Is all I'm thinking.
I was kind of on board with that up until the social part, because with the smoking bit, it's like, then we go into, dude, if you're going into a bar and they allow smoking, like you should understand that you're gonna endure the smoking aspects of it. That's an entirely different thing than, hey, eat healthy. I mean, honestly, we should work towards that. And I'm saying this as I have a single steak burger from Steak and Shake on its way to my house, because I need a meal for dinner.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, no, it's not.
You said Steak and Shake?
Yeah,
I like both of those things.
shaken and staken.
Steaks and shakes.
Dude, they're both good. And you should
Exactly.
once you
I
pack them together, it's like a match made in matrimony.
I think back to the social stigma, trying not to think about food. The thing about it is you're talking about having people basically socially sort of pressure people, and it's like my feeling is, on the one hand, yeah, that might actually be for the best good, but I don't think that John Q. Public walking down the street is that it's within their purview to help educate fat people about how they should be skinnier. You know, it's
No,
that's
but your
sort of
loved
my only concern,
ones-
because I don't. Well, that's not social. You know, that's a different thing. That's the only reason I was. I
Okay,
was
so
thinking,
how would you accept me wording it if I don't use the term social stigma? How do you think I should word it?
Well, I think, saying pressure from your peer group is perfectly fine. I mean, and your doctor encouraging you to do the right thing.
Okay.
People who are actually in a position where they are your caretakers. But John Q. Public walking down the street going, "Hey, fatso, why don't you run faster?"
I just
is
wanted
not going to help.
term. No, and I don't think that's appropriate.
I knew what you
But,
meant.
like,
I know
I
you
want
mean
there
what-
to be a
yeah.
term where we still hold on to these, pardon the play on words, conserve these ideas that certain things are not exactly the best for you. And, we shouldn't, like, you can indulge in a slice of cheesecake or other vices, but just know that there are certain things that will do damage, like smoking. But if you're a pack-a-day smoker, it's very different than if you're the type of guy or girl who on the weekends likes to smoke a cohiba or two.
Right.
It's a very different thing.
I just don't want Susan coming down on us because we can be. I don't want us to be accused of asking for people to bully the fats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
No,
all I'm just covering that, Susan.
One thing about Fat Stanford that I saw here
Yeah.
in her thing, she's never practiced medicine other than as a resident. She
Yeah.
practiced as a resident, got the hell out of there as soon as possible, went straight to a fellowship at Harvard, 2 years of, I'm sure she worked really hard, of obesity research. Okay. And published everything she wrote, of course, because that's how that works, ladies and gentlemen. That's fucking academic press. And but as far as I can tell, she may not have even passed any boards. I think probably what she would say, no, I never took clinical boards because I wasn't going to practice medicine. I think the truth of it is she almost everybody who finishes medical school takes boards. I think she may have failed her boards.
Well, she can help way more people this way, Skep.
Well,
but,
she can. She can.
I
This
think
is
I'm
very
bored
much.
of
Hang
hearing
on. Just 1 second. I have an important comparison. This, to me, honestly, all kidding aside, is very similar to the math professor in Hawaii who does not teach math. She has been on the forefront of getting Black women into math, getting more minorities in math, and so forth. And just like Piper, what's her name, in Hawaii, she has served as the chair of the Minority Affairs section for the American Medical Association, chair of the American College of Physician Obesity Advisory Committee. All these things. She's done everything but practice medicine.
Yeah.
So this is the doctor who's going to help us.
I have another stupid thing for you. So this is the president of Ireland, and he basically wants to make homework illegal. Now, this is a great stand because they actually have, by all objective standards, I did look it up, a pretty good educational system in Ireland by any objective measure, both for reading and math. But he's going to fix that by essentially saying, no. Once you do all of your schoolwork at school, and when going home, that's you time. You can play with your Pokemon or watch porn or do whatever it is that floats
This
your
guy
boat.
clearly failed late life grooming.
Yeah, well, he does look a little like Dobby from the Harry Potter thing, so I kind of
does look
instantly
like
dislike
Dobby.
He
him.
looks like a Harry Potter character.
He
does
looks like
look
a
like
freaking
Dobby.
house elf,
Gringotts
doesn't he?
goblin.
He does.
Shut up, Dobby.
That's not fair.
I was thinking he
Hold
looked
on.
like one of the goblins from Gringotts.
Yeah.
Oh,
But some
yeah.
sort of goblin-like thing.
Goblin. Yeah.
Okay.
Goblin.
Yes.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay,
Oh.
I just want to make sure that I'm not muted. So homework. How do you see homework as? Because honestly,
Why does the
I think it's
president
beneficial,
call for this?
but I guess.
Well, there's actually 7 studies that at least I've been able to find so far that state that homework is beneficial if it is kept to at most an hour to 90 minutes.
Mhm.
If it gets past that, it is no longer beneficial to the child. And there's
Unless
actually
they're
a sharp
Japanese.
Hold on. How is okay? That's the issue I have with because it's the way I look at it is homework is kind of like the tail end of the lecture that you received from the day's work, but at at the same end, it's the student has to have that they want to learn. Okay, that's the main point is the student wants to learn. So homework is not beneficial if the student doesn't give a shit. But
Well,
if the
yeah, but
student
that's
wants to
said for
learn,
anything.
well,
It
yeah,
does.
but that's the whole point. That's learning. That's we're trying to educate these Neanderthal fucking creature humans. Okay, so
Well,
we
the
give
thing is,
them this
the studies have
chunk
also
of
shown that homework improves student achievement. It can actually
Mhm.
help with it.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
So
I think
give them the
the
human or homework.
the notion is that you go to school to learn,
Mhm.
and then the homework is sort of like a quick sort of what's the term for it, like practicum, where you just demonstrate that you've absorbed some of what you're supposed to be
it's
learning in the
practice.
class.
You
Hey,
And
seriously.
sometimes you get
something.
really interesting assignments, like you have science fair type
Yeah.
thing put together with either yourself or a team, and it helps build other skills other than just learning. And on the other hand, you also want to allow kids to be kids, and you don't want to bog them down with too much, because then it socially stunts them. As you see when somebody mentioned Japanese, when they get too much or forced too hard into educational pursuits, you really shouldn't stop learning at any point in your life. Like every time on this show, I learned something new. Um, and I think that a lot of parents have sort of abdicated their roles in being primary educators to their own children to the schools for various reasons. Not trying to just spitting as I see it. I'm not trying to blame anybody, but a lot of the family units that I see just in my anecdotal life, the children who seem to do the best are the ones with parents who do actively, you know, impart knowledge and wisdom to their children in conjunction with the school system.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
think
mean,
watering down the work ethic of these kids, because you're talking about a fairly unique time in human development, where there's certain types of skills which are much easier to pick up at this point in their life, and trying to get them to not work as hard. Obviously, if they don't want to do the work and they don't have a family that has a strong work ethic to push them, there's nothing you can do about it. It's the whole horse, water, drink thing.
Yeah.
But banning it is absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason to ban it.
Well, it's as much as I hate to go the route of what was it? What was the joke from the Clinton area? Define is. I want
Yeah.
to know what he considers the definition of homework. It just
It's scholastic work that you do outside of school grounds. He literally believes this is he was a former, let's see, I have it marked here. The former arts minister believes that school activity should end at the school gate.
he's
So
an
all of
arts
that,
minister?
like, you're in second grade, you're learning how to read, where you should be going home and reading a book and working on like a book report to show that you have reading comprehension. None of that. Whatever little reading snippets you do from the reading lab in second grade, that's all you get. There's no way in hell that kid is going to develop reading comprehension on anywhere near the same level as the kid that goes home and reads like a book a week. It's just not going to happen.
Bingo.
Well, and
Yeah.
unless the kid wants to. That's the thing. I mean,
Well, the thing is that yes, the want has to be there, but you also have to sometimes push in order for the want to exist.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, these are kids. You
Yeah.
have to tell them what to do. They don't get to dictate what they want to do.
I'm surprised this is as controversial as I thought, because I sort of thought I threw
Wow.
this out and we'd all go, "This is really stupid."
Oh no,
That
it
would be the
is.
end
It
of it.
is really
no,
stupid.
it is stupid. Yeah.
I do like the fact that Serenity showed up with facts. I mean, that
Okay,
actually
well-
I appreciate.
Well,
Just
the
Right
tip
on the
of
table.
the tip that I can give is don't use Google for stuff. Use Bing. Bing's better. Because Bing actually gave me sources and actually gave me cited sources.
Yeah, I use Bing, but I mean, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and move us along because honestly, we can stop now or we can talk for another 30 minutes, and I don't think we want to do the second thing. All right, let's see.
I got the Bing ready.
Not doing that. Hold on a second while I do some
Bing,
housekeeping
bing.
here. We have this. Amazon launches a prescription drug service.
Yep.
This seems almost
What?
too good to be. So basically, the retail giant said Tuesday that it will launch RX Pass, a subscription service for customers who have Prime memberships. Amazon said people will pay $5 a month to fill as many prescriptions as they need from a list of about 50 generic medications.
Yep.
Now,
Right.
in addition to the stuff that Mark Cuban's been working on and a few other things, I just see capitalism winning here. I think this is fantastic. Why not?
This
Why
is
not?
Especially-
this.
Go ahead, Skep.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that it looks like a huge efficiency play because you have some medications that are made in such bulk by so many people that I would love to see the numbers in back of this. I would love because there is a business model that somebody put together that shows how this will either make money or contribute as will make sense as an investment that will cause indirect profits. Or
Do you see what I
indirectly
just
cause profits.
highlighted, Skep?
Yeah, sildenafil. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sildenafil
so-
also made the list.
Yeah, I can't believe that as much Viagra as you want will be available on demand. If that happens, there's some very big drug companies that hire a lot of lawyers who are going to look into ways to make that not legal.
There's
in
we're
the
talking
meantime-
about a lot of money that goes into boner pills.
Oh my! It's like
And
porn
if
on the
they
internet,
if
my man.
he basically breaks the boner pill industry with this distributing, generic Viagra like this,
Well, sildenafil isn't hard to make either.
no, it's going to be a big deal. But more importantly, there's a lot of life-saving stuff in here.
Well, it's like you need a
on that
amoxicillin.
list. Yeah.
Like, because I got grandfathered into this because I've been part of Prime for so long, and they were like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh, well, if I had prescriptions, probably, but I don't."
I know a
Until those
number.
court cases come up. You get a boner, and you get a boner, and you.
Yeah.
No, but
Where's
seriously,
the list of where's the pharmacopoeia? The list of
I'm sorry, I don't have it.
I'm going
Can
to
we-
find that.
Yeah.
I will find that.
We are
Can we
not
go
going to
down
read
two
that
paragraphs?
list.
Can we go down two paragraphs? The program doesn't use.
But if you can
insurance?
cherry pick a few interesting ones off of there,
Right.
that would be great.
Harry,
Sorry,
can we go down
2
paragraphs? The program doesn't use insurance.
Yeah.
Use insurance, and people with government-funded Medicaid or Medicare coverage are not eligible.
Yeah, and
It
it's
will
only
be
in
available
42 states,
Washington D.C. alone.
Yep.
Okay.
which does not include California.
So
Yep.
this
I have to pay full price for all
There's
my
200
boner
and 243 drug. Well, wait a minute.
Dr.
That's wrong.
Porkenheimer's boner
No,
juice.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
so that $5 a month is just to access the service. Obviously, it's not the cost of any medications, and that will.
But they're
vary
going to be cheap.
wildly. But yeah, that's what I was getting to. They're probably going to be a lot cheaper, which is something your country has been chomping at the bit for on all sides of the aisle for quite a while.
So, from the looks of it, they have amoxicillin, but they're offering also the regular stuff like biotin, folic acid. This is most likely prescription grade levels of it. Vitamin B12.
So you gotta get a doctor to.
Yeah, you have to have a prescription in order to do this. Like they have to see proof of the prescription. So
They'll
it's not
probably ask
just
you
you
to, like,
can.
scan it,
Yeah,
photograph.
not since
send
the
it in.
days of Silk Road or whatever that thing was, back when
It
the
was
internet
Silk
was
Road.
fun.
That's incredible that you like the
Uh,
technology is finally catching up to something like this, where you can get your script from your doctor instead of having to
Ooh,
take it somewhere. You
I
just
predicted this
photograph
was
it.
going to happen. I did.
they're offering a breast cancer medication,
Hmm.
tamoxifen citrate,
Hmm.
and 2 different diabetes medications.
Yeah, well, I hope
Nice.
I hope people don't have to take tamoxifen. That's not a fun drug.
Well, I mean, it's not, but it's nice that they're offering it for people who aren't on Medicare or Medicaid.
No, I understand, but it's like, that's not the thing you want to hear from your doctor. Congratulations, you get to take tamoxifen.
You know, you
There-
guys are young enough to not realize how important naproxen and ibuprofen and things like that are about to become to you. But when you get old, if you're fortunate enough to get as old as I am, I take between 4 and 8 ibuprofen every single day, and every once in a while I take 3 or 4 naproxen just to spell the ibuprofen.
Mhm.
And that's
No sildenafil.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember
I'm just kidding.
I'm actually looking at
Get a Pez dispenser.
amlodipine, which I take for my high blood pressure.
Blood pressure. yeah.
Amoxicillin. I'm just going to run
they have-
through. I'm just going to hit the cephalexin, very common cephalosporin antibiotic.
I mean, they got 3
Doxepin,
Parkinson's.
which is sine qua non, and also which is a tricyclic antibiotic. Doxycycline, which is a tricyclic antibiotic that is really good for tick fever.
Dude,
And,
I
all
think
right,
Sanguine will
finasteride.
do
Let's
that.
see what else we got. Hang on, hold on. Let me omeprazole. Okay, they've got some really important drugs in here: risperidone, sildenafil, and
Let Jenna know about
tamoxifen.
this.
God bless them.
Yeah.
And and B12, and so then at the end, vitamin B12. Okay.
Yep, which is used for the anti-inflammatory, not anti-inflammatories. God damn it, anemia.
Mm.
Yeah.
And again,
Yep.
this is going to be such a godsend for quite a
These
few
people don't
elderly
cross
and
the
disabled
border.
people who
I want to
just-
see what Mark Cuban does. Sorry, functional. I don't mean to step on you.
No. I'm just my
Let's-
my bleeding heart is showing when I'm saying like it's going to greatly impact in a positive way a lot of elderly people, people
just
with
gonna-
mobility issues.
I was going to just say, for example, Pramipexole right now is with insurance will cost you between $0 and $8 if you're a Prime member. Without insurance, it will cost you $11.90. That's the Prime member price for a 30-day supply of the 1.5s. And but if you want the extended release, a 30-day supply is $97 on Amazon. They will not be offering many of the extended releases in anything. It looks like I'm not seeing any.
Well, they're still covered by licenses in a lot of cases.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Many
So this is just a
ERs
lot of
are developed simply to break a patent.
Yep.
That's absolutely.
So a lot of this is just going to be a lot of like just generic stuff. It's going to be a lot like
Yeah.
obviously this is a fledgling sort of initiative, so it's going to start off very
Oh,
basic.
I'm
and
very bullish on this. I'm very happy to see this as someone who's old and has not unlimited resources.
And the really cool thing is that also apparently if you have an FSA or an HSA, you can use that to pay for it.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
Damn
so
straight.
it makes
Oh,
it a lot easier for a lot of people in that case. I'm just
So
glad
you
they have
could-
Parkinson's medicine on here. Like, holy shit.
They probably
like-
won't, but I hope they allow this up here eventually.
Ugh.
Well, we have a bunch of pretty serious stuff, and I'm going to go through some of this a little faster than I think I would otherwise, because
we might need a palate cleanser soon.
Oh, that's right. I have a whole series of palette cleansers. Let me see. Sorry, palette cleanser. Here is a palette cleanser.
Oh god.
oh,
bear
Where's the
selfies.
bear?
The bear came across a
the
remote
bear?
camera
Crime
used to
is
monitor
also-
wildlife in the Boulder, Colorado
He's looking
area.
into your
The
soul,
person
Adam.
investigating
gosh.
it, I know, the bear managed to get a few selfies, and by a few, we mean something in the neighborhood of 400. The bear pretty much capturing all the angles and expressions. They almost look like headshots for an aspiring actor. The dramatic role, comedy, romance, the bear can pose for them all.
Yeah, the little.
He could
What
give
an
Harambe a
Instagram
real run
thought.
for his money, don't you think?
Yeah.
He's a handsome bear.
400.
Look at him.
We mean
Damn
something.
good looking bear.
Yeah, it's a fine-looking bear.
Yeah,
Nah, I'm all
Fantasy
for
works in
Hank
my
the
state.
Tank.
Yeah.
It would look amazing coming out of my wall.
So you know how people get into this whole men versus women thing on YouTube and stuff, and we'll joke about how men can't be bored. I think this is a perfect example of men not being bored.
Oh, this. I've seen this. Great.
The Home Depot beat using do-it-yourself items from the Home Depot. That takes a lot of work.
Yeah, well, especially the pipes, man. That pipe
Tuning all of those
Damn.
pipes to
Hold
basically
on.
make your
Yeah,
pipe
exactly.
xylophone. That's
they
awesome.
went through all that work to get that. Wow.
I'm impressed. I'm
Damn.
really-
God
right.
bless him.
I don't know. I think men are pretty cool.
Hey,
Home
man.
Depot
Also-
should
also
hire these guys
retail
to
is
do a
bo-
commercial.
Retail is boring.
Retail is
Yeah,
boring.
retail is innately boring. Yeah. Oh
I was just
God.
gonna tell you.
Yeah, there's
Apparently, there's a lot of people boycotting Home Depot right now, though.
Oh, why?
I'll give you two guesses.
Oh well.
His name starts with D and his last name starts with T.
Oh,
Dean
that
Martin.
guy,
It's because apparently
Oh.
Denny
he-
Terrio.
Sure.
Danny-
He
Yeah, it was
Duck Dodgers?
was a president at one point.
Danny Thomas, America's
There you
Father.
go.
Danny
But apparently, God, no. But
Yeah.
apparently, they found out. I think either the founder, or the president, or the CEO, or somebody gave money to the campaign. So now people
Oh,
are
no.
like, "Don't go to Home Depot." I'm like, "Fuck off, Jesus Christ!"
Hey, Functional. What do you think of this? Does this need to be a dedicated tool?
Do it.
Mm. Mm.
Yes.
Why?
Gotta prick
Why?
it. Sausage. You gotta prick it.
Why?
Prick it.
Why is this? Why does this exist?
Got a Lorena Bobbitt.
Easy to
business.
clean, 5
Yeah,
stars.
Capitalism, baby.
Easy to
No,
use,
that's-
4.8.
This is a feminist tool of the trade. I understand.
I have a fork.
Woo!
It works really well. Has tines and
Hey.
everything.
Hey,
Yeah,
It's-
I
if
mean,
it's-
I
if
have
There's a market. People will buy it.
specialized tool that you stick into the sausage to make sure it doesn't explode.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like this. It actually just looks like a regular old skewer, but with a very sharp
Yeah.
point.
But look, at least 1,400 people have bought this thing.
I mean, if it works,
Look
it
at
works.
it.
It's just capitalism, baby. If there's
You
if
know,
somebody's gonna buy your product,
Easy to clean.
Alton
Value
Brown
for the
is
money.
right. You should never have anything in your kitchen that is a unitasker except for your fire extinguisher.
I think even he proved that it wasn't a full. That he did a bit where he was like, "It's not even a unitasker."
yeah, during the zombie apocalypse, you can crush some zombie
Yeah,
skull with
if you have any
Oh,
excess
what about-
after a birthday party, you can use this to get rid of pesky balloons. I mean,
There you go.
seriously.
What's wrong with the Ventahood? All it does is suck.
There you go.
Yeah.
So does Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, evidently.
Well, it also has a light in it, so
She's the governor of Georgia. Don't make fun of her.
She's
the
president
federal
of
government.
Earth, dude.
Yeah, that too. Also that.
Hey,
Fun.
I
So
have
what's-
one more
what's that-
thing here, but I
what's that-
don't.
hold- quickly,
I don't
what's
have a
that fourth
title for it.
photograph?
So I don't know what it is.
Mm-mm.
So do I click on something if I don't know what it is?
I
No.
Must
don't know,
be there
Harry. How
for a
druggy are
reason.
you? Uh-oh.
Let's see. What is
That's a
it?
Twitter thing. Oh God.
Oh yeah, this. Did I already show you this?
Is this the stack?
What is
one?
this? What is this? I've not seen this.
Okay, so this is a controlled demolition of 4 smokestacks,
Oh boy, this should be fun.
and the basically the scrubber tower to the
Oh,
left
shit.
is not supposed to be part of this demolition.
It's gonna be though.
It's so yes on the 4 on the right, no
Oh,
on the 1 on the left. Those were the instructions given to the
Oh no! Oh
Oh, no.
You can hear them too. They're like, "Oh god! Oh god!"
One of the
Boom.
charges didn't
Oh,
go
it
off.
sucks to be us.
Oddly satisfying.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Gravity and momentum are amazing things,
How
aren't
much
they?
you want to bet their union?
That is oddly satisfying, isn't it?
It is. It is. I have watched demolition videos before, and I find them satisfying.
Whoopsies!
So
Oh,
anyway,
I feel
Especially to see
so.
the Pontiac Dome get blown up. I was particularly enjoyed
The
that
funnest
one.
thing to watch are the controlled demolitions of old Las Vegas hotels.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those are so much fun to watch.
You're right.
I kind of feel bad for the guys who.
I
set
do
this
too, because
up.
you can hear them screaming. They're like, "No, no!"
No, yeah, one of the charges in the last tower didn't go off, so it changed.
Mhm.
Like it went the wrong way. It was oh my god.
okay,
Oh,
so chat. I have a thing here on the Tyree Nichols thing, the poor guy who got beaten by the cops. We can skip
Oh,
it or
yeah.
we can talk about it. It's entirely up to you. So, chat, tell me if you want to see this panel, if you want to talk about it, because I'm kind of pissed off and I'm happy to talk about it. I'm also happy not to talk about it because
I'm
we
happy
don't
not
need
to
it the time.
It is a
Happy not-
long topic.
It is, and we could talk about it on Tuesday because I've got stuff on de-individuation theory and all sorts of other stuff. So
Let's talk about de-individuation. Just
On
a
Tuesday.
suggestion, because if I get going on this Tyree thing, it's going to get into what the brutalization of Memphis, what has happened demographically to Memphis, in the last 20 years.
this is a little bit pregnant thing. We can either spend a lot of time talking about it or not. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this and talk about something else terrible.
Good call.
What's happening right now in the desert area where the drug cartels are coming in?
What's happening right now is Prop 64, it legalized cannabis statewide, essentially
did.
opened the floodgates to these drug cartels that we're seeing with marijuana. And so when I made my way down there, I couldn't believe what we were seeing, illegal marijuana operations all over the desert. LA County, the sheriffs have identified over 500 illegal marijuana operations. The county next door, San Bernardino, has over 1,000 illegal marijuana grows. So you could only imagine all the water that they're using, the
So yes, the drug cartels have moved into the less inhabited parts of California and are growing pot in huge operations. I mean, I'm
Who
going to
could've
let them
seen
show you.
coming?
I'm going to let you show this last one because drug legalization's great, right? I mean, that's what I've always thought as the small L libertarian.
the environmental damage that they're doing. And the worst part of this is the violence now. They shoot at the American citizens, they shoot at the police. The big issue with this is when people here in California, when they think illegal marijuana, they shrug their shoulders. And there's kind of a misconception that they think it's like just kind of hippie dudes in the middle of nowhere growing their plants, listening to Bob
what it
Marley.
used to
But these
be.
are high-level,
at that.
sophisticated criminal organizations. One of these illegal marijuana operations that we discovered in San Bernardino
Delicious.
County was up to 10 acres long.
This is a group of illegal aliens operating an illegal operation in California. And the county sheriffs, when the people around these get threatened by the drug cartels, they look the other way because what are they going to do? Them and a deputy are going to go take on a drug cartel? I don't think so.
Right.
Well,
And-
especially since they know the state's not going to back them.
Yeah,
Plata y plumba.
I have a whole bunch of stuff that I was putting together for a much longer sort of thing on this where I was going to make a point and this stuff. And there's a video I have by a forest ranger, who ended up basically going from forest ranger to being part of a TAC team to deal with these idiots in one place. And then something happened, which I didn't expect. I mean, this was something that happened after I was putting something together for the show. And it says, and this happened.
Please tell me that no one died.
No, 6 people died in a small town in Tulare County called Goshen. And they were basically killed in this gang-style execution thing.
This is out in the farming part of California. This is
Yeah.
not in the barrio in East LA. This is out in the middle of no freaking where, a place that thinks Fresno is sophisticated.
These are not rich people. These are the
No.
conditions we're talking about. This is
Black
not.
people.
These are not rich
You
yuppie
can giggle.
Californians taking the bus to work and getting a cafeteria.
You can giggle. It's the truth. These are my people. These are California Appalachians.
These are the people that grow your food. These are
Exactly.
good. These are good people, and they deserve better
Yeah.
than this.
Damn right.
These are, what was the name of the family in the Grapes of Wrath?
Oh God.
What was the
It was the Capulets. No, I'm just kidding. The
Jode.
point. So
the Jodes. That's what it was.
But they're talking about these homicide rates. So, for instance,
exactly
Kern
right.
County had 13.7 killings per 100,000. That's freaking high. Merced was 9.5, and the county where this took place is 8.8. Now, if you compare that to Marin County, where all the rich people live, that's 0.4. There's a huge difference. So between pot, methamphetamine, fentanyl, and all the other stuff that's going on, these poor people have just been abandoned. On the one hand, legalizing drugs sounds like a really good idea, but it's really challenging my libertarian ideals to see homelessness, drug cartels. When you combine it with the open border policy, it becomes even worse. The drug cartels, all this sort of stuff.
That's our big problem is the illicit people in here who have no respect whatsoever for our laws. They are, any law that we have from their standpoint is like the old line from the movie, more of a guideline, really. They don't think anything because they've broken the law just by entering the company. They're not even supposed to be here. They know that, and I think that knowledge informs a lot of how they can conduct their lives. Until we figure out a way to handle the immigrant situation, and Joe Biden has made every mistake he could, as far as I can tell. He's done everything he can to make it worse. Until we handle that, we're going to have these kinds of problems. This is much more of an immigration problem than it is a libertarian, liberalized. Just because you're libertarian doesn't mean you don't have laws. You do have laws. You expect those laws to be followed, and if you don't, there are consequences. And us being, we have a bunch of people living in our country with us, and it's becoming a significant percentage of the population, particularly in certain areas of the country, who have no respect for our laws, no respect whatsoever for our laws. They know they're not supposed to be here. They know they broke the law simply by crossing the border. We cannot expect them to have the respect for our other laws if they haven't shown any respect for our laws so far. They're going to do the best they can for themselves. They're going to be utterly selfish. They'll tend to be cynical and brutal, and will suboptimize at every opportunity, which just makes life in society suck worse. And the deaths in the ocean are an outgrowth of that, I think.
Skep, I agree with you, but it's hard to only place blame on them when, like Harry said, even law enforcement, and in this global term of law enforcement, including the people who give them their directives, so elected officials, when they don't respect the laws,
right?
You're getting hit from both sides. It's like, I can definitely feel how these communities are like,
one from the other. Generalized disrespect for the law is a contagion in society. Mm-hmm. And when you have a significant population come in and say we have no respect for the laws, the people who expend effort and restraint and act like good citizens say, why should I do that? Why should I have to stop for stop signs? Why shouldn't I get to steal stuff from 7-Eleven and not get prosecuted? Yeah,
Yeah, there could have been bread at that 7-Eleven.
Because I have
at least they had bread.
I have to disagree with you, Harry. I don't think that it's. I think the legalization is the catalyst on this explosive thing, because this seems to be a very unique problem to the United States. I don't know if this is just in California. I'd assume it kind of spreads to other places, but
they also
function
it's like
Oregon and Washington.
It's like when you have socialized healthcare, but you have open borders. It's the same thing. They're just going to come in and destroy the system, and like, you cannot enact a policy like that if there are direct things that will destroy and use that system to enact harm onto other people and basically attack your society. This is disgusting.
You have to treat it like the invasion that it is, but there's a twofold problem here, right? So we've got the draw, which is the illegal drug business. Now, to my mind, if these facilities are illegal, I mean, I don't normally ask for more government control, but I would really like to see the DEA go in there and close these things down. And if they just happen to decide to shoot back and then get shot in the process, oh well, I can deal with that. Or if you want to treat it like the invasion that it is from an immigration perspective, that basically there's armed criminals doing business in the United States illegally, fine. Or do both at the same time. I don't care. I just want this to stop. And I'm not actually all that particular about how we go about doing it. And that's unusual for me because usually I'm pretty principled about stuff like this. But when I see stuff like this happening, I almost don't care. I just want these people driven out of my country.
That
in a bag or otherwise.
Well, I mean, they shouldn't be here.
They shouldn't.
This is the thing that gets me is they're obviously breaking a law.
Yeah, and killing people and intimidating government
that,
officials.
Or even like the hotel owner who was saying that, you know, he had to give up a couple of floors and they're, you know, being degenerate in the floors. So at this point, we're talking about, you know, we're talking about an influx of people that, let's be honest, they shouldn't be here. Like,
well, I mean, California's a sanctuary state.
Right. They literally have rules that prevent us from deporting these people.
That's the thing. Like, how long are we going to play this game? How many years are we going to sit there and be like,
what did Joel say?
Oh yeah, these countries.
Well, these counties don't have any political power, Adam.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
They have no
as
political
long as
power.
LA and San Francisco keep voting for dipshits like fucking Newsom, nothing's ever going to change.
It's
and
more
people are
important
going to
for-
die. You mentioned, you know, they're the obvious things, but you also mentioned that they use water, a lot more water, especially for growing things like marijuana. Where do you think this water's coming from? I don't think that they're getting it legally. They're probably somehow diverting water and stealing water from other places. Like
not in California.
They steal power a lot of times too.
Yeah,
Often
power.
This man steal power. I doubt that they're stealing water.
Okay.
Water
You're
thievery in
probably
California will get the farmers after you.
them.
It just
If they can steal it, they probably should.
Yeah, that's the thing is you can't. It's really hard to steal.
Then you have stories like this where a family's fucking executed.
Yeah, and then we're going to, on top of all this, you know, you've got Governor Goodhair deciding that he wants to go after people's guns. So why don't we take an already bad situation and make it so the Americans can't defend themselves, just to really turn this into the biggest turd sandwich ever?
Also, from 4 different news sources in California, the cartels are stealing water. They've stolen millions of gallons of water.
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, how they do it might be an interesting story.
Yeah, I would love to know how they do that, because that's a pretty.
You ever seen Breaking Bad?
It's probably some kind of hose. Hose.
They actually pull it directly. They pull it from the fire hydrants. They're pulling it from wells.
Oh, that makes sense.
Anywhere they
pulling
can.
It off of the aqueducts.
People's houses, they probably will just go up.
And it's 2 to 3 million gallons of water a day.
Jesus Christ.
Well, compared to the 6 people who lost their lives, and these are not the only people. This is just something that happened recently.
Yeah.
This absolutely has to stop. And all this talk of getting, well, okay, there have been a couple mass shootings recently. There was one in God, where was it? It was Santa Cruz area, and then there was another one. There's been a couple of them. But when I look at these murder rates that they're talking about here, if you really care about preventing Californians from being needlessly killed, what about the 13.7 per 100,000? That's a much more significant problem than the very, very small, regrettable deaths that occur during the very small number of mass shootings that take place. The emphasis is completely in the wrong area if what you care about is protecting the citizenry. And taking away a lot of guns could have unintended consequences. No, we should just, no. I honestly, you need to look at the whole thing comprehensively. The immigration policy, the drug policy, how the enforcement's done, and the gun rules all at the same time. Because if you start fiddling with one knob, all the other ones change at the same, as well. It's all interdependent.
And
All I'm
except for
saying is
his
if you
8-man detail who are armed to the teeth.
All I'm saying is if you have gun laws like you do in my state, this shit wouldn't happen.
Well, it'd be a lot harder.
Well, like there's actually, I have to find the article because it's from like 10 years ago, but MS-13 tried to move into West Virginia because they're in Virginia, and the hillbillies showed up.
Isn't that cute?
and
But
ran
it's
them
wrong.
off.
The following opinions are mine and mine alone, and I'm not advocating violence, but can we make political assassinations great again? How is nobody taking
No.
a shot at Governor?
Hold on.
Crazy?
I like
No.
the fact. I like that
No,
term.
no, my
And
own
the
personal,
hillbillies
like,
moved in.
if,
That's
if
awesome.
somebody is actively, your supposed representative is actively doing things to kill the population, something's got to give.
No, hold on.
That's all
hold
I'm
on.
saying.
Okay.
Well, I think
gonna
it's
make-
incompetence.
I would
rather
urge a
than
lot of people.
malfeasance.
No,
to look
I
back-
definitely
hold on.
think at this point, I think it's malfeasance. I think it's intentional.
Go ahead, Adam.
I would urge a lot of people to look back at the conspiracy theories by Patrice O'Neill on his radio when he was on the radio, because a lot of it is coming true. And again, like she just said, you would look at the hillbillies in the hills. Yeah, that's what he was saying. He was like, you know what? I would trust those people because they know what's going on in terms of what's going on. And they're sitting here saying, now we got assault pistols. So, I mean, hey.
It's one of those things of, this is, how do I put this? And this has never been said jokingly to Harry, and Harry knows this, but there is going to be a breaking point when Californians, even those in Los Angeles and San Francisco, are going to pull their heads out of their asses. And I'm hoping to God it's not too late when it happens.
Well, the news channel that I was playing the clip from is Southern California Coastal, so it's not like people aren't starting to notice. It's beginning to get people's attention.
But it's like the mass move out of California is also causing a lot of stuff going on right now too.
There's a group of lawmakers that have got this great idea that they want to retroactively tax people who've moved out of the state.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that bullshit. I was like,
good luck
money
with that.
It's like, you egotistical motherfuckers.
I don't even need Prospero to explain how illegal that is.
Well, yeah,
Try.
but that's the thing. This is California is the people who are running it is drying it out, and slowly the people are waking up to, holy shit, these are some bad policies. And then, hey, guess what? When you move out of the state and you still have to pay taxes to California, these are some bad policies.
Yeah.
Oh no shit.
We need to set California aside because I think I've reached my limit of how much I can make people talk about California.
That is fair.
Can
So,
we,
you know,
we
we've
at least
mentioned
see the dinosaurs out there?
And we did. We mentioned Home Depot earlier, and one of the things that sort of came up is this is a Canadian thing, but apparently Home Depot has been, when you give your email address as part of a sale, hey, can we get your email address? Sure. They were just shipping sales information off to Meta, aka Facebook. And this is not really all that kosher under
it's
Canadian
illegal
law
up
and a
here.
bunch of other
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
We actually have some semblance of you own your information.
Yeah, you're not quite as aggressive about it as the EU is.
No.
I've had training and everything on that. But anyway, specifically, Home Depot forwards the customer's hashed email addresses and offline purchase details to Meta, where the customer provides their email address to Home Depot at checkout to obtain an e-receipt. Meta then matches the email to the customer's Facebook account. If the customer has a Facebook account, Meta compares offline purchase information to ads delivered to the customer on Facebook to measure effectiveness of these ads and provides results of that analysis back to Home Depot in the form of an aggregated report. I mean, they're really doing you a favor. They're making sure that you get ads for things that you might want to buy, right? So it's a win-win.
Sure, that's one way to look at it.
this seem legit, Skep?
This is the reason why you have
Sure.
burner emails.
Yeah, I think it's fine as long as they, keep our best interests in mind and
Yeah.
doing it to help us.
Burner
It's a good thing that
emails.
Zuckerberg is looking out
Burner.
for us.
Burner
God.
emails.
Best interest in mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Burner
That's,
emails.
It'll be okay. This will be fine.
okay,
That's all I'm
Skep. Are you sitting down? Do you have any generic blood pressure medicine handy?
What's going to happen now?
Here comes the bomb.
Oh God.
Experts warn of steep increase in Java costs under changes to Oracle license regime. I know.
Those
I was shocked
bastards.
too.
Fuck those bastards.
Okay.
Hey.
So a while ago, the thing Java where you could write code and run it anywhere, because it's Java, it's portable.
Portable.
They bought it from
You
Sun
tricked it.
Microsystems when they imploded, and the Oracle started charging businesses a whole bunch of money, and most of the businesses I know of said, well, screw that noise. We're going to limit our Java footprint as much as possible.
Bingo. They killed
Well,
it.
In order to get around that fact, Oracle has got it in its head that what it wants to do is now charge you for the number of people in the company, regardless of how you use their product.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
if you've got one guy over in a corner who needs Java to run some application, like your security system for your doors or something, and or just some application that uses Oracle Java,
Oh God.
they want to charge you for basically a seat license for every single person who's an employee, contractor, or subcontractor of your company.
Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not going to work for one thing. It will
God.
if it does start to work, it will spur legislation because it will affect too many people. And this is Larry Ellison on his typical ego trip and all the Ellison inspired Ellisonoids that inhabit that benighted company. I hate Oracle. I have hated Oracle longer than some of the people on this phone call have been alive. And I shit
true.
you not. That is absolutely true. That is utterly true. Since Oracle 3 in I think it was 85, 86.
I was born by then.
Barely. But
Yeah, barely.
my point is that was when I was going in with what I thought was a big company, a Beltway Bandit, a big company, and we were bidding on this contract. Oracle got interested in this contract, took the code that I had developed, took all the database stuff that we'd had, and decided it was theirs. Took it in, represented that they had created all this stuff because it was Oracle. You have no idea what things were like back then. The bullshit that got pulled, and what you could do. And that was back in the day when a really determined person could sit down. They could talk with Larry Ellison. You could talk with him back then. Back in about 1986, you could still dial him on the phone.
Yeah, I love PostgreSQL a lot. I don't need Oracle database. But anyway, enough of that. The Joel got it right in one, which was
I hate PSQL. I despise
I provided the link to the article because I thought at least Joel might want to take a look at it. The OpenJDK is actually fine. There are some applications that don't run on it. I know that there are some systems that I have to deal with that have management interfaces that only work with Java and will only work with Java on like an old VM of an old version of Windows, and I have to be careful not to upgrade anything or they just won't work.
God, I know. Eric,
if anything,
my life, you're talking my life there.
Yeah, and I know about Ice-T and Open Web Start and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I use those things whenever I can. But the thing is, there are going to be a small handful of things that just need to be replaced. It's finally time to turn that old PC into a virtual machine because you can't get to the management interface. So honestly, if this is what Oracle wants to do, bring it on. Just bring it on because we will make you completely irrelevant.
Yes, and that's what they're doing. That's exact. I agree, Harry. They're making themselves irrelevant, and this is Larry has threatened to price himself out of business several times over the decades. He always seems to wander back from the cliff before he really nukes his company. But he's had some, shall we say, interesting pricing schemes, pricing ideas for his software over the years.
I will say this, it's easier to give his company money than IBM. Some of the most annoying purchases I've ever made involved IBM. Oh my God. But we won't talk about that right now because it's not fun to listen to a grown man cry. Anyway,
IBM is not monolithic. It's actually like dealing with a whole bunch of little companies. That's what Harry.
No, we're not going to talk about that. Go ahead, Functional.
It kind of connects to a lot of topics we've been talking about lately with the you will own nothing and be happy. So instead of buying a license for this, you are now renting it, which, they don't want you to own anything. They want you to keep forking over those dollars to keep using their service or or to drive your car or to live to have a place to live. They don't want you to own anything. And as every day goes by with every article, I believe that more and more and more, and it terrifies me.
Yeah, people will make all sorts of seemingly irrational decisions just to avoid things like taxes. What was it, Copenhagen, where they put a tax on windows? So all these people just basically boarded up a bunch of the windows. So you have these big, tall houses with hardly any windows.
It was Amsterdam.
It was
Amsterdam, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was Amsterdam.
Thank you.
It was and it was based on how many windows. It was a whole weird, stupid.
Yeah, look at all the things that have happened just with people trying to avoid taxes, like Guinness. Guinness wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for taxes perverting
England
it.
and France had window taxes too.
Yeah,
just so you know. I mean, there were a lot of window taxes. Windows.
Yeah,
that was a way of valuing property. And the more windows you had, the more valuable your property was assumed to be. That was just,
time to defenestrate.
Yeah,
that's my favorite
maybe
word.
Even it would be unfenister.
Unfenister.
Yeah,
that's my favorite English word.
Anybody have any final thoughts they'd like to share?
Joel brings up a good point again. That they did the same thing with Adobe, and that's the point in which I stopped buying copies of Adobe and started sailing the high seas.
Yeah,
because
Joel, just get a mic and a headset, and we'll have you on the show sometime. Seriously, it's so hard to talk to you indirectly like this.
Well, also there's a lot of
brings up good points.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a lot of free programs that people have made that you can use that are instead that are better without even having to fly the high seas or anything.
One of the biggest ones that has taken the internet by storm is Blender.
Yeah,
I'm just started learning Blender, and I'm like, this is free software. Oh my god!
Photopea is really good for Photoshop.
I have so much experience with open source software. People have actually called me the open sorcerer before. I'm not kidding. So I'm a big. I know a lot about this topic, but we don't want to get started on that either.
In there, and I can't say it because I think it'll get us kicked. So I'm just gonna sit here.
So don't. Well, this has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you for putting up with my terrible throat tonight. I want to thank my panel. Thank Adam for dropping in, because that's a nice treat for us.
Back in.
And thank you, chat. The zoo's closed. Good night.
Night, everybody.